Oh, hello to everyone born on the Gemini Cancer cusp. How are you guys? I'm not gonna lie, you are some of my favorite people in the whole wide world. And it's not that I know a ton of you or even a handful of you. It's just that when these two signs, when stuff like transits through and moves this is heartfelt, this is warm feeling. And as long as it's like not manipulated, when it's in its purest, truest sense of its energy, this is a very beautiful cusp to be born on. And for the things that you may have written for yourself before you came to this earth, there could be a lot of challenges that you face year in, year out, but with a deep knowing, a deep love that runs like so very acutely and very wise, I'm going to say, through your entire being. There is, you know what, I'm just going to stop it there. I'm going to let tarot do the work here so that I can focus a little bit more clearly on the cards. We are doing the messages from now till the end of the calendar year for the Cancer Gemini cusp. Sorry these readings are a little bit late, so thank you for your patience and as always your support of this channel. We're going to take a couple signifying cards from this Dream of Gaia's Tarot. The left side of your screen will be what's coming in for late degrees Gemini, and the right side will be early degrees Cancer. Then we're going to pull some tarot and some Lenormand for clarifiers as we go here. Oh, let's get these things sorted out. This is a big, heavy deck. It challenges my old thick tendons in my hands. And here we go. That's better. That is much better. So I want to wish you all the best in your journeys, well-being, and in all of your undertakings at this time. Let's see what we have up here for the late degrees of Gemini. What a beautiful card here. This here is a Ten of Air, and this is like rejuvenation. This is like the remolding of one's own self. This is healing at its finest potential. You guys have not had an easy time, I feel, in the last like year, 6 months. It could even have gone along back further than that. But I feel that certain realizations have occurred where you guys are spiritually awakening to the point where you're realizing to what nth degree that source in the universe really does have your back. How you can trust in your higher self, in your guides, and in spirit to bring you through the depths of the challenges that you have been faced. And sometimes when you look out and maybe you don't perceive it always, it's just like kind of seems like a void. It's like this support, this divine white light that's all around you, this golden light that's all around you, is kind of like it's casting down in from behind you to light the way in front of you. And it's like it might be tricky energy to embrace because it's easy to be there and bathe in that comfort and that security. Yet you know that there is greater challenge that is abound and that is about to occur. It's almost as though the feeling is that one great cycle, one great chapter of your life has drawn to a close, and it ended on a very high note, on a very uplifting thing that may have occurred at the end of a whole bunch of tumultuous adversarial things. And so I feel you like maybe kind of riding a high right now, and your mind is like entertaining a lot of bliss, a lot of good feeling at this time. And now it's like the challenge is like, how do we make it last? Or have we pinnacled to the point where it's like what goes up must come down kind of thing? And there could be a little bit of worry that is set in behind you, but you guys have managed it very well through going back in through spirit and connecting with the universe and knowing that it has your back. So keep your peripheral vision on high alert for the things that are going on around you. You will be able to have a good ability to sense potential problems that are coming in from others or environmental things well before they do. It's like you're almost like clairvoyant or very intuitive at this time, and that is what the gift of Gemini, which normally it's not there. Well, it's not that it's not there, but it's like it lies dormant, it lies sleeping, but it's very much awake at this time. And then combined with that, in the early degrees of Cancer, we've got a 9 of Fire here. So we've got somebody that has chosen to keep their eyes focused on one thing. And it's, yeah, again, I had this vision of like light shining in behind somebody's head, whether it is from the third eye or from the mind, and it's projecting out in front of that person, which means like they are conducting their energy very focused towards somebody or something. It's like you may just have your eyes on a certain person, a certain thing, or a certain goal that you wish to achieve, and it's like the peripheral vision thing comes up again. You want to make sure that you're keeping those avenues open while you're conducting this narrow focus towards this particular reward or relationship with this person. There is loving energies surrounding these cards together. It's almost as if like this person were to turn around, they would have this behind them, and if you were to see the front side of this person, they would very much look like this. And see how that little rose there is what comes through all of this magical energy that is behind the person. So you are projecting at this time. You are manifesting whether you are conscious of it or not. And we have to want to make sure that it's focused on the right thing. But let's look to tarot. Let's look to the Dreamers, Mystic Dreamers Tarot to see what could be coming in for you guys and to see what this is all about. Why this source energy that is being channeled through you and projected out from you is here at this time. This flyer here, I got caught on it. Wasn't ready for that. So if it comes out again, then wow, it'll be gangbusters. But for now, we'll just make sure tarot has a moment to sort itself out. Very interesting. We've got a 10 and a 9. We've got a big completion that has come across. You guys have fought hard for something, and now maybe you have attained it, and the decision is, okay, well, where do we go from here? Or now what do we do with it? Or can we make the good feeling last? It's almost as though you've been freed to love again, or you've healed yourself to the point where now you can trust again, you can love again, and you're just like, okay, some of you might be waiting for that person to come in, and some of you might have already have that person in your scope, and you're going towards them at mock chicken, and it's like it could be very overwhelming, loving energy surrounding you at this time. Because that's a feeling like when I first turned on the camera, it was like I got a blast from the heart chakra, and it was just like, oh man, it's like, how deep does the pure love run on this cusp when it's not being shaded, when it's not being manipulated, and when it's absolutely there in its purest form. So you guys might be living in a very enlightened period of time for this in your cusp areas to actually be coming through for you. Okay, all right, we didn't get any droppers or flyers other than that Queen of Pentacles, so we're going to see what comes through in these 3 cards we lay down. All right, and on the Gemini side, we've got a 4 of Cups here. So yes, decisions. Where do we go from here? What do we do with all this? And you know, the feeling we have, does it feel more like a void than like bliss? And are you not really maybe perceiving it the way that you need to be? Like the heart might be feeling a little bit heavy for the actual the gifts that the angels and that source are trying to give to you, and you're just like kind of like, oh, I can't seem to make it work for me. I don't really feel like this is where I'm supposed to be. Almost like your timeline had shifted and you're not sure, or you're uncertain of the grounding, and there could be a lack of grounding that is occurring here, and source may be giving you some time or withholding certain wish fulfillment from you so that you do have time to become grounded in the energy that you are in, as so that you don't get sort of flung too far too fast kind of thing, and that sort of situation. Okay, when we see the 4 of Cups here, when we look at the heart chakra energies and what's going on around it, it's like it can be very overwhelming. You could find yourself upset or crying for no reason at all, or certain triggers are a lot more powerful than they ever used to be, or new things could be coming in to trigger some emotional responses from you, and kind of leaves you feeling unknown why. So that is why I feel you have, when you know the universe has your back, you have to voice your position back to your higher self and to your angels, and commune with them, and ask, and actually verbally express where you are at and what your desires are. And do it audibly. Do it out in your quiet, sacred space. It doesn't matter what language you speak, the nomenclature that you use. It's like the angels will be there for you and support and guide you. But the acknowledgement and your position in it can only be made more understood to you once you audibly connect and begin to ask. Begin to ask for your blessings through grace, of course, as always, and gratitude. But when you begin to ask or say, show me, where is it? Why is it this way? And can you make me more conscious of what I have chosen for myself in this lifetime? Then the angels can go from protection mode to presentation mode, so to speak, for you, okay? All right. Now, in the middle, we've got an Ace of Swords here. So, the recovery process and something in regards to the mental inspiration and sort of like giving yourself the mental okay to trust again is huge with this Ace of Swords. When the feeling comes back, when you feel whole again, and then you kind of go and you say, well, a relationship would be very nice, would be very important. I'm very smitten with this person or with that person. It can take on a little bit, it can become a little bit scary or a little bit unnerving, right? What was that old Billy Joel song where he says, you're always going to feel insecure when you love another, right? And that's just the nature of it. Some of us love that vulnerable feeling to occur when we connect to another, and others of us, we shy away from it, and we don't want to have those feelings associated in a relationship, which sometimes is why it makes finding somebody who is actually of similar thinking and of like mind so difficult sometimes, and why there are certain times in life where we must stand alone to understand these things. It's kind of like, if when you're in a relationship, you always tend to tone the personal things down a little bit in consideration of the other person, as always. It's like, like when a man wakes up in the morning, in his truest, purest form, like when he yawns, that would sound like the horn of Gondor, and you'd be like, oh my God, I do not want to hear that at 7:30 in the morning. So the gentleman wakes up and he tries to, do it as silently as possible, no matter which end it's coming out of, just out of those considerations for the other person. You're always like in this bit of personal compromise to your highest power, your highest truth. So some of you may be understanding which you want more. Is it the relationship? Is it the emotional fulfillment through another? Or is it being able to be my purest, truest sense of self in all things, in all actions, which requires sometimes a very personal, private, sacred space for you to do that? Okay, let's see what's coming in. We've got a 4 of Pentacles coming in from the Cancer side. Now, a couple 4s and a 1 in the middle. So, and this comes back to the 9. There's a big change that's about to occur from you. Or did I say from you? I was about to say for you, but I said from you. There is a big change that's about to occur from you. And that means, like, you can see how both of these characters in this situation are almost like in fetal position. They are, they've been hurt. They've felt the pain that comes from putting themselves out there or loving too much or giving too much. And it's almost like the change I feel that is coming from you is this Ace of Swords and this big 10, these ones that are up in the reading, is saying, well, I am going to trust again. I am going to give myself permission to trust again. And when you do that, it doesn't mean that the cycle is going to come back. It can be harmonious in that and progressive in that it doesn't always have to end in hurt, or we don't have to forecast a situation where trust leads to betrayal, or betrayal being the opposite of trust. In these situations, we can get outside of the yin and yang of that situation and saying, like, trusting someone doesn't mean that we have to become vulnerable. Trusting someone means we can just do it now with a more educated perspective on what the potential outcomes are and give ourselves permission to find the gray area in between based on other people's reactions, the relationships that we have in our lives, and what, if we're giving an inch, maybe they're taking a mile, or maybe they're only taking 3/4 of a mile, or maybe they just come to you and they snuggle up and they're very appreciative of that inch, okay? And that's not in the literal sense. That's more metaphorical than anything, okay, guys? Try and keep it lighthearted, but this is a very deep reading. These are very deep pip cards. 2 4s and an ace. It's like, yeah, there are big things. You can make amazing things happen should you give yourself permission to do so. All right, here's our flipper here, and we've got the card of the roses, the gift that's coming in. So somebody could be smitten with you and you're having none of it, is the portion, or they may be receiving mixed messages from you at this time, because they're like, why do they act that way when all I'm doing is showing them love and giving them expressions of love? And you may be like actually confusing somebody, and as well, you may be confused by somebody else's action. The Ace of Swords here with this nesting card, what we have here is the potential for a new beginning to start, connection, these initial connections with somebody. And it's like trying to figure the other person out, trying to understand. It's like you may be of like mind, because we saw that when we pulled this sword. But sometimes being of like mind is not always the answer. There could be relationships surrounding this cusp sign of Gemini Cancer where independence is playing a big role in it. And it's mutual independence, not interdependence, so to speak, but it's like you might have your life and your family and your responsibilities, and the other person might have your life, then your responsibilities in that situation. And maybe it only allows you for like one night a week for a date night, and then one night a week. And we might think, well, it's just a friends with benefits. It's just a booty call, right? And that sort of thing. If we're not together, if we're not living together, if we're not seeing each other every day, then it's not real love. Well, not in 2017 and not in 2018, ladies and gentlemen. What we have here is this, where you kind of need to accommodate to allow the other person's mind, body, and spirit to continue on its path while appreciating each other, to the point where you don't choke those things out. You don't limit those personal expressions and those freedoms that we talked about in their purest sense, by smothering, by saying, well, if he or she is not there right now, well, obviously I just can't trust them. And it's like these are certain conditioned thought patterns that need to be dismissed, that need to go out the window. A kind of like a new thought pattern must dawn surrounding how we're labeling, even, I feel, some of these situations and the roles that we take on in relationships, okay? So the Four of Pentacles has now come up with the card of the scythe and the card of the clover, which here is like harvesting and good luck. So when we see this, I feel like what you're projecting might be a little bit more woe is me than what we need to actually have at this time. We're trying to turn things around. We're trying to like come around or over top of the mountain, where it's like we can finally see the other side. And it's not necessarily a thing like the grass is greener, but it's like the increased perspective that it doesn't necessarily need to be a struggle. When it is a struggle, we go into our strength and what we can attain in terms of our personal strength through coming through struggles. I had a close friend said, you know what the opposite of struggles is? And I said, what? And they said, cuddles. Struggles and cuddles are on the opposite end of the spectrum, right? So it's kind of one of those things where it's you play into that role where it's like, if things are not as great as they could be, you've got these fours up, you know they could be better. Stop waiting for the change to happen to you and become the change that you wish to see. And I know that's so cliche, and you're probably going to give me a thumbs down for that dirty one, but it is so very true in this situation. The change must occur from the inside out. It's Source saying, I am pushing light through you. I have got your back, and you can project loving energy out from you. And it's just as simple as a shift of thinking and allowing yourself permission to do that through trust in yourself, trust in your higher self, and that audible connection with the angels that we talked about and the spirit guides that we talked about. Okay, that was a deep one, all right, Gemini, Cancer. I love you guys all, and we'll see you next time.